Morning everyone, thanks for joining us. As you know, this morning we've announced Justin Langer as the new head coach of the Australian men's cricket team, and on behalf of everyone in Australian cricket I say congratulations, Justin. Justin will coach all three formats in the men's game, and his initial 4-year term will include a couple of Ashes series, including the first ever series in the World Test Championship, which starts in July 2019, a World Cup in 2019, and in 2020 a home World 20 event that will be played here in Australia. I'm sure I don't need to go into the credentials of Justin as a cricketer and more recently as a successful coach in Western Australia, but I do want to make a couple of comments about the fact that whilst Justin's predecessor Darren Lehmann finished his time as coach earlier, there has for some time been succession plans in place around coaching positions in Australian cricket. And Justin, together with a number of other well-credentialed coaches, has been a beneficiary of that succession planning process. Amongst lots of other things that have been involved in that succession planning process, there have been opportunities for coaches to spend time on tour with the Australian team, and even going so far as stepping into Darren's role, acting up as coach of the team in Darren's absence, and that's something that Justin has done a couple of times in the last 2 years. I'd like to commend Pat Howard, Head of Team Performance, for his role in setting up these succession planning and development programs for coaches. It's given us great confidence in the wealth of talent, coaching talent that is here in Australia and around the country, and in fact not only here in Australia but around the world. There's something like 25 coaches who currently hold professional coaching roles in national teams, in domestic competitions or in T20 franchises around the world. The program's allowed us to consider several worthy candidates, but in the end Justin was a very clear standout candidate. Justin's recent coaching and player development achievements in the West are absolutely outstanding, and he's undoubtedly the right person to lead the Australian cricket team going forward. We've got huge confidence in him and we wish him well for the role. So with those introductory comments, perhaps we can open up for questions. Thanks.
Justin, congratulations. What would you like to change about Australian cricket?
I think one of the things that's really important is that we keep looking to earn respect. To me, respect's worth more than all the gold in the world. So earn respect on and off the cricket field. I think also another really important foundation over the last 6 years in Western Australian cricket is that we look to encourage great cricketers but also great people. So if we can encourage great cricketers and great Australians over the next 4 years, starting from day one, I think that's a really important foundation for us. It's not just about how we play our cricket, it's also about being good citizens and being good Australians.
Justin, Matthew Wade made a report on the radio this morning saying sort of 12 months ago there was criticism of the Australian cricket team wasn't ruthless enough, and clearly what happened in South Africa they've crossed the line. So how do you strike that balance between pushing the boundaries and not crossing them?
Yeah, look, I think the Australian public, a lot of people love Australian cricket, and if you look back over, I was very fortunate. I was brought up under Bob Simpson and Alan Border. I still get nervous even saying their name because they were that tough and they demanded excellence on and off the cricket field, and we played hard. And I think the Australian cricket team, the public will be disappointed if we don't play good, hard, competitive cricket. That said, we can also modify our behaviours. Over that time, I was lucky to play with great competitors. We talk about Alan Border and Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath and Adam Gilchrist and Steve Waugh. They played hard, but they're also outstanding people. So I think we modify our behaviours a bit so it's not angry or not over-aggressive, but we're certainly aggressive in the mindset we play with the bat and the ball.
Justin, where do you think Australian cricket is now, and where do you think it can be in time?
Well, I know that we've got great depth of talent, there's no doubt about that. Hopefully the last 6 years in West Australian cricket's been a great dress rehearsal for me coming into this job. I remember when I went into the job back then, we were spending more time on the front pages than the back pages, and that was really an interesting period. We went about setting some really strong values, some very simple rules within the team, And with that, one of the things about leadership, it can be quite lonely because you've got to be on it every single day. If someone does something well, you say, well done, that's how we do it around here. If they don't, no, that's not how we do it. And the expectations are high in the Australian cricket team. We've got to make sure our behaviours are good, the little things, that the behaviours are good. And if we do all that, I think the outcomes will look after themselves. How people view us, that's really none of our business. We know in this world that everyone's got an opinion and they're able to voice their opinion. If we go about our behaviours on and off the field really well, those outcomes will look after themselves. And
So you spoke about modifying behaviours. How do you feel about sledging, and do you think the Australian team is going to be part of that in this instance?
the funny thing about sledging, I hear this probably October the 3rd every single year. I'm going to read the same headlines, and I've laughed about this for about 25 years. Every team that comes over and said, oh, how are you going to combat the Australian sledging? And they go, well, we're not going to be scared of Australian sledging. And it's great. It's going to be great headlines for... we all know, I've known for a long time, I probably saw two instances in my career where it got really personal and it would cross the line. And I think back to, there was one with Glenn McGrath with Sarwan in West Indies. That was a very sensitive time for Pigeon at the time, but it got probably crossed the line, and there was consequences for that. I saw it one other time particularly. We've always played hard. I think some of the best banters amongst each other to try and to get the opposition thinking about other things. I mean, that's mental toughness is simply about being 100% focused on the next ball. If you're worrying about what you just said to me, then that's a distraction. But we all know that what the acceptable behaviours are. There's a difference between competitiveness and aggression, and we've got to be careful with that.
It sounds like you're rejecting some of the criticism that's come out over the past few weeks then that tends to say, look, Australian cricket has, for a long time, even with teams that you've been playing with, let alone coaching the last few years at the Australian level, that there's been this sort of inbuilt problem with the culture of the Australian team. You sound like you're rejecting that.
What I know is we should be very, very proud of our history of Australian cricket. We've been not only good cricketers, but generally good people. There's been a few instances where it was probably crossed the line, as I just said, but it's in our nature. I think we've got a few things in our Australian nature. We like to win. I think what I've learned I know about Australians, we love to win, but we don't like to win by too much because we like to be the underdogs. And I still remember it was a bit of a demotivator in the great Australian team when we kept winning every game, and they go, oh yeah, but it's getting a bit boring, we need a bit of competition. So we love to win, Australians, in everything we do. We don't like to win by too much, but we don't like to bend the rules either. That's our community, that's our society, and that's really a huge foundation of that. So we've got to be aware of that. But let's not underestimate how proud we should be of Australian cricket history. I mean, we've had great people. One of the things we've got in Australian cricket, unlike a lot of the other countries, we've got great players, not just really good players or good players. We've got great players, and we're lucky to draw on those. I remember being back at the Cricket Academy and guys like Ian Chappell and Rod Marsh was the head coach, and Ian Chappell would be there, and some of the lessons I learned from them about playing the game. And we go through a list of great cricketers, like I say, not just really good players, great ones. Not many countries have that luxury, and we should draw on that and the lessons and the great history we've got in Australian cricket.
Justin, two pretty significant members of the team, or three, out suspended at the moment. Will you welcome back the likes of Steve Smith and David Warner into that setup when the suspensions expire?
Look, one thing I know is that one of the key values for me is learning from the past and respecting the past. So we'll learn from what's happened. And those guys, look, when I think about, Cameron Bancroft and Steve Smith, literally, besides Mike Hussey, love the game of cricket more than anyone I know. They are cricket tragics, and they're great kids. And, that's why it was such a surprise they made the mistake they did, I think. But they're great kids. They've made mistakes. We've all made mistakes. We can all get better at things. Davey Warner's the same. He's a really good young bloke. He made a mistake. I love the way he plays his cricket. I mean, I'm a cricket tragic. The way he runs between the wickets, the way he fields, the way he bats, they're things that, for I guess the less trained eye, you might not respect that as much. But I love the way he plays his cricket. Has he got areas to get better at? Yep. Has Steve Smith? Yep. Has Cameron Bancroft? Yep. Have every single person in Australian cricket? Yep. We've all got areas we can get better at. If we can keep mentoring them and helping them, and they want to keep getting better and they want to meet the standards of the Australian cricket team, then of course they'll be welcome back.
So Dave Warner's got a future in the Australian setup?
I think so, yeah. But again, if like Dave Warner or any of the players, and this will be a really important message through all Australians and Australian cricket who are playing Sheffield Shield or domestic cricket, if they were willing to meet the standards of the Australian cricket team, I think everyone's got a place if they want to meet those standards and expectations.
Do you think there'll be any trust issues when they return to the team in terms of good teammates and that sort of thing, given what's happening?
I'm not close enough to it. But one of the things I know also is about it was Anzac Day a few weeks ago, and one thing I know about Australians is mateship's really important, and elite mateship within the Australian cricket team is going to be a key value. So we'll have to work on that. If you get that camaraderie, I've said for years, it's like if you got that camaraderie, it's like the glue that keeps everything together, particularly when you're under pressure. Now, I would say, without being in it, that camaraderie wasn't as tight as it needed to be because we're under pressure. The glue sort of separated a bit. I don't like seeing that in a cricket team. I like them to be tight. I like us all to be tight, not just the players, but the support staff, Cricket Australia. I think that that elite mateship is crucial. In every great team I've been involved with, is like I always think it was like the great paradox for me as a player. It was so competitive to get into the team. But when you walk through the doors with the baggy green, it was like a brotherhood. It was like a nightclub, mate. It was awesome. We'd walk in and like they are my brothers. So I think about Matty Hayden and Adam Gilchrist and Ricky Ponting and Glenn McGrath. They are literally like my brothers, and that's what we're going to keep promoting in the Australia. It can't be about the individuals. It's got to be about the team. And if we promote that elite mateship, then we'll be okay because we'll be good on and off the cricket field.
Well, you've spoken before about the line and over the years of the instances where that line's been crossed. Who defines the line? Is it Australia who defines the line? I mean, every team seems to have a different version of where the line is, which is probably one of the reasons why Australian cricket's got to that. Where Australia thinks the line is might be a long way from where, say, Sri Lanka or India or Pakistan might think the line is.
It's a good question. I mean, culturally and historically, we look back on it. Again, we look back at the old Anzac spirit. We were renowned because we were great fighters and we look after each other and we look after our mates. So I got asked in a radio interview this morning, so Adam Gilchrist, elite sportsman, walks when he got out. I said, yeah, but I never walked when I got out. And you must be a cheat. I said, no, I just love batting so much. I just didn't want to go out. It was like when you're in the schoolyard. No one liked getting out. You throw your bat and you get all grumpy and you have a fight with your brother because you want to keep batting. So there is a line. We are competitors, and that's one of the great parts of being an Australian, isn't it? We are fighters and we do. But ultimately, to answer your question though, everyone knows what right and wrong is. Everyone knows the difference between right and wrong. That's simple. We get taught that since when you're a little kid through your parents or through school. You know what right and wrong is, and that's if our blokes, if our players literally stick to that, right or wrong, they'll be okay, I think.
Louis and Ross. Justin, you've got the Ashes series coming up in the middle of that. What are you looking ahead to the 4 years from a playing point of view? What do you see as the biggest challenge, I guess?
Yeah, I get nervous when I think about that. We've got a World Cup, we've got a T20 World Cup, we've got a couple of Ashes. So I start getting nervous, especially when the boss is sitting next to me. There's some big tournaments coming up. But I think ultimately, if I fast forward it, the Indian tour against India, the Test tour in about 3 or 4 years' time, to me that's the ultimate because we will judge ourselves on if we're a great cricket team if we beat India in India. And I look back on my career, the Mount Everest moment was 2004 when we finally beat India in India. So we've got to get better at playing away. We've got to get better at playing overseas. We become a great team if we win overseas and at home. So that'll be a big moment for us looking forward. That's something to aspire to. We've obviously got Ashes tours. I think back on the great Australian cricket teams again, 89. We obviously had the Invincibles way back, but the 89 Ashes, it was like a pivotal moment for Australian cricket. You talk to all the players, that's a legendary tour because we went across as the worst team ever, and that was probably the start of that era of cricket dominance for Australia. So And then we had 95 when we finally beat the West Indies in West Indies. I was lucky to be part of that. It was a huge tour. So I think back, there's been some great achievements, but winning overseas, excuse me, and ultimately winning in India in a few years' time, that'd be pivotal, I think.
And just in terms of taking over the three formers, Darren kind of said that he thought it might be inevitable that we'd have two coaches for the Australian team. What do you kind of sit on that?
Yeah, my learnings of the last few years were that I think one of the great advantages in West Australian cricket was that I think someone's got to oversee it, particularly if you're looking at the culture and looking at setting some parameters. Certainly in the short term, there's no doubt I have some great people working with me. You have to. There's Ricky, there's been a lot of talk about Ricky. Ricky's literally like my brother, and the feedback from him being involved with the T20 from the players who came back was, well, it didn't surprise me for 1 millisecond because he's a legend in so many ways. So we have some great people. Can't do it alone. I know that. I know that the only way I'll be successful, I've got great people around me. In fact, that's number one pillar. You get great people around. But ultimately, I think someone's got to oversee it because you don't want to have splits. You don't want to have different messages if you do. Because ultimately, it's the Australian cricket team's the Australian cricket team. And there'll be times where the fixturing means that we can't be in the same place at the same time. That's impossible. But we'll work our way around that.
And last one, Russ.
Just following on from that, taking over all three forms, did you look at it and see, well, I know you're taking over the Australian cricket team and the issues we've had recently with the Australian cricket team, a lot of the criticism has been that this is a full-on cultural problem that permeates through kids who come to cricket at the academy when they're 17, 18, 19, whatever that is, permeating through the states, and the criticism exists in a bubble. Are you taking over all three forms because you see that as a root cause issue you need to get to the bottom of bringing everyone back on board together?
Do you know, when I took over my learnings of the last few years, when I took over the West Australian cricket, it was like a dysfunctional family. Like the ex-players hated the Wacker hated them back, club cricket hated them, Wacker hated them back, the media hated the Wacker hated, and it was like this angry, everyone was angry, we've got to bring a bit of love back. Honestly, we've got to bring it, and that's how I see the role. And I think if we're the beacon, if we look after what we're doing, hopefully that'll permeate right through. It'll through to the state cricket, to club cricket, to the kids, and everyone will be really proud of it. My last public engagement was a few weeks ago, as it's turned out for West Australian cricket. We had the Laurie Saw medal, and I was so proud that night of the way our players represented West Australian cricket. And if we can all do that over the next 4 years, then hopefully we'll all be really proud of Australian cricket, and the kids will be okay, and we won't be having the same discussions we're having now.
What have you made of Tim Payne's stint as captain of the Australian team? Who do you think it could be going forward with Tim?
Well, one thing I know, the golden ticket I got in West Australia was I had Simon Kadich and Adam Voges as the captains. I know that the relationship between the captain and the vice captain and the coach are crucial, as are the relationship with the chairman and the CEO and the high performance manager, all the leaders in the group. To me, leadership's everything, whether it's in your family, whether it's in business, whether it's in the team. So the leadership is absolutely critical. And Tim, fantastic young bloke. I've loved him since he came in. Got a bit of charisma. He trains hard. He's fit. He's a very good cricketer. So I think he'll be outstanding for the job at the moment. That said, I haven't spoken to the boss about this. I'm not big on leadership groups either. I think the leaders are crucial, but I think everyone's a leader. And I think the other important thing I've learned maybe over the last 7 or 8 years where we can get better at in Australian cricket is it's not about the title. If you've got C or VC next to your name, everyone has to be a good leader. And the guys who have that great responsibility, they've got a pivotal role, no doubt. But everyone's got to be a leader within the group. So whether it's the players, the coaches, everyone involved has to be a leader. So if we can take that, knowing how important leadership is, that'll certainly be a huge part of my job, is to make sure the leadership within the group's strong.
Justin, purely on field, Steve Smith and Dave Warner have been the side's two best batsmen. So how in the next 11 months do you replace them?
Well, it's hard. It's hard to replace their runs and their experience. They're fantastic players. What it does, sounds like a cliche. I hate talking about in cliches, but it is a very good opportunity, isn't it? So you get these other guys getting the opportunity. I spoke to Rick Charlesworth the other day, one of the all-time great coaches and great people, but he said the only real difference is opportunity. There's lots of talent. and different people take their opportunities. So over the next 11 months, there's a chance for some guys to take their opportunity, and then imagine, it's a bit like injuries to fast bowlers as well. You keep building your depth. One thing I know, if you want sustained success, you've got to have depth. We've got plenty of talent, but you've got to have depth, and this next 11 months or so gives us a couple of guys or a few people the opportunity to even make us stronger and add to the depth, and they're like the cream on the top now. When it comes to big tournaments, they'll be like the cream, and it's like your best fast bowlers coming back after injury. If you can build the depth, and then you get some great players coming back in, that's a pretty exciting time.
Thanks very much. How would you describe your coaching style? What's your personality going to be like?
Yeah, it's funny because my coaching philosophy, I guess, is just to help these kids become as good as they can become. I've said it from day one. I like helping them. I've got 4 daughters, so I've had, and they're 4 teenage daughters, so for the last 6 years, it's like having 28 sons. We're never good enough to get a son, but so yeah, I've had 28 sons, and I feel as a coach, sometimes you're like a headmaster, sometimes you're like a policeman, sometimes you're like a dad, sometimes like a brother, sometimes you're like an uncle. It's sort of, that's mentorship. I think that's leadership. The other funny thing about it is that people see me as really serious, you know, tough, serious. That's my public persona, I guess. But I'm also a bit of a hippie. Yeah. So, well, only my daughter gave me a shave yesterday or 2 days ago, because 1 month every year I like to grow a beard and not wear shoes. I think it's because, you know, I work bloody hard. So for 1 month of the year, and I've just finished that 2 days ago, on Saturday really, when I spoke to James. But and I like different people. I think there's a bit of a worry. Someone asked me on the radio before, everyone's going to be really serious, and that's actually the opposite. If you look at the West Australian team, the ones I like the most are the ones who are a bit different. And you've got to have some personality, you've got to have some competitive instinct, you've got to be comfortable in your own skin. And I like those sort of people. You can't be great at anything without being a bit different. And I am a bit different. And that's like, it used to worry me when I was younger, but now I'm really comfortable in my own skin. I'm a bit different. I like to work, I like to train, I like to meditate, I like to be a bit of hippie when I can. And I like people being a bit different. But what I do know is, as a coach, I know that there's great expectations and great responsibility to be an Australian cricketer, and those standards have to be met.
Last one, yep.
James, despite clearly, as you say, an outstanding candidate here, you might have been forgiven for looking outside the Australian ranks to make a statement almost about the Australian culture. Did you consider that seriously?
To be honest, when we went through the list of candidates around, we were pretty impressed with what we had. And I think there's, as I said earlier on, we had purposely gone about a succession planning, but also a development planning process for coaches. One of the things that we believe is that the role of the coach in cricket is generally understated, underestimated and understated when you compare it to other sports. And I think that times are changing. The importance of the role of the coach is very significant, and the program that we've had going, that Justin's been a part of, and others as well, leave us with great confidence as to the depth of the coaching ranks, but also with that in the background, the mindset that the role of the coach is incredibly important. And as Justin touched on, that relationship between captain, vice-captain, coach is as important as any role in Australian cricket. And so from that perspective, we didn't, to answer your question, Mary, no, we didn't look beyond the ranks of Australian coaches.
Not even to get a fresh eye on this.
Well, I guess there's a sort of benchmarking exercise about who are the best coaches and where are they, but I honestly believe that the top half dozen or so coaches in the world are Australian.
Thanks very much, everyone.